Yeah, and if you're not where you are at this point of the year, you need to reflect on why. Are the goals too big? Are the processes too big? Do you need to make the steps much smaller? There's this really cool story about this guy who lost like 70 pounds or something like that. And for the first 2 weeks, he just went into the gym and left the gym and didn't exercise at all. And then the week after, he stayed for like 10 minutes and went on an exercycle bike and then went home. And the reason he was successful and able to build on it, he didn't start with going, I'm going to work out.
Do a marathon.
Yeah, I'm going to work out twice a day. I'm going to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice 3 times a day. He started with the smallest action, which is the biggest barrier for a lot of people. Walk into the gym.
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to do something once you're there. So really think about what are those little steps.
Welcome to Checks and Balances, brought to you by Partners Life. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And today, 30% of 2024 has already passed. Are you on track to achieve your goals?
We're back in your life on this Friday morning to talk about 30% of 2024 has already gone by.
30.64%.
It's crazy, Mike. We're nearly in May.
I know, it is actually nuts. And I think one of the kind of the really key takeaways from this before we even jump into anything is times are ticking. There's no better time like the present. So get your A into G and get it going.
Look, and the big thing here is we're talking about how you felt on January 1st, or maybe when you were just,
maybe January 2nd.
Yeah. Maybe, you're December 31st, had too many drinks. You're thinking about, 2023 wasn't my year, but boy, is 2024. And the question is it actually your year? Have you done the things you said you would do? This is the wake-up call today.
So let's set the scene here. At the time of recording, we're 30.64% of the way through 2024. In that time, inflation has chilled out to a cool 4%, which is great news. The housing market has stagnated a bit. It's running pretty flat. We're not getting much growth. Few more sellers out there than buyers. Interest rates have started creeping down. Not the official cash rate, but your retail mortgage rate on your house has started creeping down. And that stock market, it's crept up. It's up to 4% year to date. So there's some mixed feelings out there in the market, but how are you tracking towards your goals?
And the big thing with that setting the scene piece in terms of inflation, housing market, interest rate, stock market, is not to say great time to invest, great time to do whatever. The big thing is there's no excuses. Things are slowly getting better. 2024 is going to be better than 2023, and 2025 is going to be a hell of a lot better than 2024. So the question is, you set those goals at the start of the year. Why have you not taken action yet if you haven't?
All right, James. So we're 30% of the way through the year. We're talking about goals. What are some of your goals?
I think that's a really good point because we preach about all the things you should be doing, but then talking about our own goals, where we're going, because we're far from perfect. So your boy has quite a few goals. Most of them financial. Some of them are a little bit different. So the first one is for Cooper to start 2 sports. So Little Kickers starts in 6 weeks, where Cooper's going to be 18 months old. He gets a little uniform, runs around, kicks a ball. It's just going to be chaos, but we're going to do that.
Wait, so that's sport number 1. What's the second sport?
Well, he's already doing swimming, which probably counts, but we're keen to do gymnastics. Gymnastics is really important for kids. I don't want to turn this into a podcast episode, but it gets him to start to control his body.
Yeah.
So then, he has better coordination and can move better than you or I can. So that's one of the goals. The second piece is your boys, on a fitness journey, right? So at the start of last year, I weighed 120 kilos. I'm now down to 95 kilos, and I want to lose another 5 kilos this year. So we're tracking well with that one. I've got five to go. So feeling good about that one. It's all about processes, money, fitness, all the same sort of thing. I've got an income goal that I'm trying to work towards. I want to buy another investment property. I'm going to try and double the business over the next 12 months. So that's a business goal. Have 5 financial advisors. I've got a chunk of my floating loan that is like my gamification that I want to pay off during the year. And then the other piece, which is quite hard to measure whether you're on track or off track, but as you know, I'm a very want to get on with it, but I've got a young family. I've got to make sure that I'm balancing myself well. So making sure I'm spending lots of quality time with them.
So James, I want to dig into a couple of those, but let's focus on the fitness one to start with, right? You said you used to weigh 120 kgs. Now you're down to 95. What were some of the systems, the process, the things you put in place to make sure that you, one, achieved your goal, and two, stuck to it?
It's actually very boring what I did. I've always been like a 6 a.m. going to the gym guy. The only thing I changed was I used my Fitness Pal to measure my calories. And I also thought, okay, like what do I need to change to, because, at the end of the day, it's quite easy for me to eat really well until I leave here. And then you're like, oh, I'm tired. I'll eat whatever when I get home. So I had to change my my systems to make sure that I made it pretty much foolproof for me to be able to achieve my goals. So it was things like I started using like pre-made meals where you barcode it, because if you think like you're making your own food, it's you've got to measure it.
A little bit more sugar, a little bit more salt,
yeah,
a little bit the portion size a bit
oil,
bigger.
You go back for seconds, all that kind of stuff. So like barcoding everything, and it was just like, here is my total calories for the day, and I know like my calories were 3,000 calories is like my energy output.
Yep.
If I am around 1,800 a day, then I will have to lose weight. I know, but that's one lasagna for you at 8 a.m.
1,800.
And then
How
it was
many
also,
calories do you think I consume a day?
I reckon you're sitting probably like 4,000. You got a sweet metabolism.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing in terms of this as well, which I've definitely reflected on in the past. When it's my fitness in the past is I could sprint to like a thing, but then I would be like, okay, I want to be like Mike and eat a lasagna at 8 a.m. But like we're all different, right? Like just because you can do one thing, I can do, like it's the same with lots of other pieces of life.
And if you're listening to that and you think he's making it up that I would eat lasagna at 8 a.m., I absolutely eat lasagna at 8 a.m.
Yeah. It's also like something as like almost sounds so like silly and a lack of self-control, but there's two ways I can drive home. I can drive home a way where I don't go past a dairy, don't go past a petrol station, and I can get something. Or there's a way where I do drive past or where I don't drive past, and then like I focus on that route to go home.
And I know you said, I think that sounds silly or it's a little thing, but I actually think that is a really fundamental point in how you're getting to achieve the goals, right? It's the little things. It's so easy to just be like, no, I'm going to stop off and grab something because I'm hungry and I know Cooper's, he's going to be tired and Han's going to be tired and I got to do all this stuff. So you could justify that in your head so easily.
Yeah.
Like, let me just stop off and grab a snack so that I can be more engaged with Cooper, right?
Yeah.
The easiest way to justify that.
Yeah. And the other big piece is my goal has always been the same to like weigh a certain amount or be a certain percent body fat. The goal never changed. It was my ability to execute the goal. And that was because I had good processes.
And is there something that you read, absorbed, copied or something to try and put those processes in place? Because, for a lot of people watching this, they'll say, it's a financial podcast or something like that. But the same sort of theory can be applied to any goal, right? So outside of obviously the greatest podcast in the financial universe, what other materials are you looking at to try and give you the motivation or the processes to stay on track?
I really like the book Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of removing yourself from the outcome and focusing on doing your best and focusing on your processes. So like the idea is if you like play a sport and you win or lose, you should detach yourself from whether you've won or you've lost. And did you do the best you could do? Did you have the right processes to get the best possible outcome? The outcome is removed. And that's just like jumping on the scale every day or with your finances. Did I save enough? Because like emergencies can happen, which can impact your finances. It's very easy to be demotivated by like a number on the scale or something happening with your finances, which results in you giving up.
Yeah.
But instead of focusing on the outcome, focusing on the processes.
Yeah. I always liken that to decisioning in poker, where like you can play the perfect hand, but the outcome might not be the same. Right. Yeah. And if you judge the inputs based on the result, not all the time, but sometimes it can lead you to making like drastic changes. Right. Like you might have gone, oh crap, I didn't quite hit where I want it to be this week. So I'm going to go sit in a sauna for 2 hours and sweat it out to hit that weight. When actually that doesn't really do anything, right?
No.
Like you'll get it, but then you'll drink some water and put it all back on.
Yeah, and a lot of it's so much of it's just up here with all of these things is like, say if you have like a big night out or you eat something you shouldn't and your weight jumps a kilo and you feel bad. It's not like you put on a kilo of fat.
Yeah.
It's water retention. But then if you go, oh, like what's the point? And then you just like give up, then you will gain fat because you're going to like consistently do the wrong thing. So you don't win or lose. You can't focus on the outcome over an hour, a day, a week. You have to focus off outcomes over much longer periods of time, which come back to like your financial plan. It's about being consistent over a long enough period of time.
Yeah. And when you do get to that point, sometimes you're like, I've slipped up here, I've let myself down, or I'm not quite where I want to be, and you're feeling behind. What do you sort of do then? Because it's really easy. We see it all the time where people write off a day or a weekend, right? They're like, oh crap, I was meant to stick to my budget this weekend or this week, but I blew it on Thursday, so I'll blow it out until Sunday and I'll start again next week. What are some of the things you do when you're like, I've slipped up here, I'm feeling behind, to try and make sure you don't just blow the rest of the week out?
Today's another day.
Yeah?
Today's another day to try and be my best on this day. And then where I am at the moment, which is probably where a lot of people are at with like 7% interest rates, is like I said, I've been able to lose weight and then like essentially like bounce back up. So I'm in like a plateau phase, which is quite scary because it means opposed to like running towards a target, you're going, I just want to stay where I am. But if you're staying where you are, you're worried about going backwards as well. So that's like in terms of how I deal with this, that's quite big. And then the other thing that's probably changed, which didn't deliver immediate results, but helped me kind of work towards it, is just like some people have a financial advisor. I've got a nutritionist I see once a month.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sylvia. She's awesome. I know what I need to do. I just need to have something in my calendar be like, I'm going to go see Sylvia.
The deadline, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go see Sylvia in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I know she's not the kind of person that's going to be like essentially, you're a piece of crap. Why did you do this? I'm going to feel bad because I've had a point in time, which is a long enough point in time, that either I've done the thing or I haven't done the thing.
So James, before we continue, I have got a special announcement.
Have you started sticking to your budget?
Absolutely not.
You finally made it as an after-hours DJ.
I wish. Mate, the thing is, we have got a brand new podcast partner, Partners Life.
You mean the award-winning insurance provider with over 300,000 Kiwis insured?
Yep, they're also a New Zealand-operated company, and they are passionate about increasing financial literacy amongst Kiwis.
Sounds like a great match. Where can I learn more about them?
Check out their website in our show notes below.
Really thought DJ Magic Mike was going to be a global sensation for a second.
Yeah, and quite often when we see people, obviously, you don't live on an island, you don't live in a bubble, you have a family, you have a partner. We often see with financial plans and goals is that if one person's on the page and the other person isn't, that can cause a real friction and it becomes a lot easier to justify those slip-ups, right? Or that spending, or my partner wanted to go on holiday, so we went on holiday and now we can't hit the savings goal. Have you had discussions with Han about it? Is she on the same page? What does that kind of dynamic look like?
Yeah, it's always hard to talk to people about stuff because once you say it out loud, then like you can fail.
Yeah.
But if it's just in your head and you fail, you haven't really let anybody down except yourself, which is obviously quite bad. So like we'd spoken about it, and I mean, sometimes I think about it like in terms of like I'm 32. If you're at a TAB across my life and you were going to be like, okay, James has said this is the point, he's going to change his life. He said this 100 times in the past. The TAB is paying $32 that this is actually going to happen this time.
I love that.
Sometimes I think about it like that. And then like I do wonder from Hannah's perspective, she's like, all right, mate, like we'll see what you're doing tomorrow. Because just like with finances, the first week's the hardest week, and then like you build rhythm and consistency, and then you're like, why wouldn't I live like this like all the time? But coming back to your question, she's like did a fitness challenge with me. Obviously, she's had a baby over the past 18 months and had her own goals, and it's way more fun to do something together than two people running their own race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of a really key point here is like the discussion bit is the hardest bit to have. But, you know, if you just look at your example, when you break through that, on the other side of that is a really happy place where all of a sudden two people get to work on joint goals as a team.
Yeah, and you're just trying to become a better version of yourself, right? Which, life's hard, lots of things going on, people are working hard, but I mean, I think, that is really what it's all about. It's not like financial freedom is not the end goal. It's about who you have to become, the things you have to do to be able to do it. And there's a great quote from Atomic Habits. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the levels of our systems. And that's really what if you're motivated one day, you're not going to be as motivated on other days for a variety of different reasons. You didn't get good sleep, you're sick, you're busy at work, whatever. And you have to think about the tiny details, like packing your bag to go to the gym,
driving another way home.
Yeah, the night before. Am I ordering food to make it easier? What is the pain that I'm going through, which means I'm more likely to stick to it?
The packing the gym bag the night before is a huge one for me, because I know how much I want to stay in bed at 4:30 in the morning. And I know, like, if my gym clothes aren't there and they're not laid out and I have to go looking for something, I'm like, stuff it, it's freezing. I'll just get straight back into bed. I have my coffee, my little pre-workout coffee sitting there next to my gym clothes, next to my toothbrush, all ready to go.
Yeah. And then sometimes even when I do that, I still do sleep in.
Oh yeah.
And then I have to unpack my bag, go and iron my clothes. And the whole time I'm doing it, I'm thinking, like, why am I not better?
Yeah.
And if I just didn't do that and then had to pack, like, just got clothes out of the cupboard and got ready in the morning, I wouldn't have that same piece of pain around it.
Yeah. I often find that is when I'm doing that routine, in my head I'm like, you should have just gone. You're already up. You feel fine. It was that like 30 seconds of that 5 minutes right at the start that you would have got over, and you would have been, great for the rest of the day.
Yeah. So we're having quite a long conversation.
Oh yeah, I feel like I've turned this into 30 for 30.
Yeah, and obviously quite, a little bit vulnerable, and talking about this stuff has been unusual for me. But talking about a lot to do with fitness, but it's all the same stuff. Like, we're talking about the process of the way you drive home to avoid bad food. That might be, I'm not going to walk past going to a certain clothes store because I really like to go there. When we talk about ordering your food or scanning your food, that might be
packing your lunch in the morning so you don't buy it.
Yeah, it might be the automatic payments on your bank accounts. All of these things are about processes, whether it's fitness or finances, to get to the outcome you're after.
So I feel like I've hijacked this one a little bit and turned it into 30 for 30. Let's not bring that segment back again. That was a one time only. But let's bring it back to the listeners a little bit and give them some takeaways. So if they're feeling behind, what should they start to do?
Yeah, I think the first thing is around the accountability. If you, like, a lot of people use the notes in their phone to write down their list of goals. If you haven't looked at that in a while, that's the very first step. And going, what were my goals for the start of the year? Thinking about, are they visible enough on a daily basis? Look, I'm not saying you got to have a vision board when you walk in the front door, but if you're only looking at your goals like once a quarter, it's probably not in front of you enough. And the scary thing is 30% of the year done. The great news, there's still 70% to go. So you need to write down, look at those goals. If you haven't done those goals, if you go, I don't like New Year's resolutions, well, guess what? You can have some May resolutions to go, what am I going to focus on? Review those goals, write down those goals. But just like we've been talking about when it comes to fitness, the goal doesn't matter. You are not going to, maybe you're listening to this and you're excited, you're motivated for the future, but you won't stay motivated. So we have to focus on the processes.
Yeah, 100%. And part of that process can be breaking down those goals into weekly tasks. And for everyone out there listening who thinks, man, Mike's a bit of chaos, I am, but you know how I get through the week? At the start of every week, I list down the things I need to achieve in my professional life to make sure that I hit my quarterly goals, right? And if I don't do them one week, they go in red, they go to the top, and they have to be done by Monday.
Yeah.
Right. Unless there is an outstanding reason why I can't do them by the end of the day, the following Monday, they have to be done. And I will allocate time. I will stay at work longer. They just have to be completed. Right. And that's something that helps me. As you know, we are all busy. We all have 4,000 things to do during the day. I probably have at max 2 minutes, 30 without being interrupted at any time throughout my day. But I know what my day is going to be like. So I have to do things to make sure I tick stuff off.
Yeah. And if you're not where you are at this point of the year, you need to reflect on why. Are the goals too big? Are the processes too big? Do you need to make the steps much smaller? There's this really cool story about this guy who lost like 70 pounds or something like that. And for the first 2 weeks, he just went into the gym and left the gym and didn't exercise at all. And then the week after, he stayed for like 10 minutes and went on an exercycle bike and then went home. And the reason he was successful and able to build on it, he didn't start with going, I'm going to work out.
Do a marathon.
Yeah, I'm going to work out twice a day. I'm going to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice 3 times a day. He started with the smallest action, which is the biggest barrier for a lot of people. Walk into the gym.
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to do something once you're there. So really think about what are those little steps. And then if you're looking for help, which is a really important part, is, look, if it's all in your head, if you don't have that accountability, if you don't have that support, if you don't have those skill sets. For example, if you're looking to buy a house, talk to Mike, talk to a mortgage broker. Like, you need to think about, I've got a goal. Is my goal realistic? Yeah. It would suck for you to spend a year saving or something and Mike to turn around and be like, oh, we could have done this 12 months ago. The house to be 10% more. And then you're just going, get that external support. Want to get fitter. Talk to a nutritionist. Talk to a personal trainer. Use experts as leverage so you've got more accountability, a clearer path to achieve the goal.
Yeah, absolutely right. And if you're thinking, it's embarrassing to talk about things or it's embarrassing to kind of share, like if you think about, James is a nutritionist, we both have business coaches, we have a lot of support around us that we rely on. It's not like a one-man journey is going to be, any more satisfying or greater than if you have help. Like, it generally is easier.
Yeah. And also, we talked a lot about processes and systems. Build the systems. Think about the detail, the little details to help you achieve your goals. Blocking out your time so you can achieve your goal. Sometimes, Mike, I'm like, I need to get 3 hours of work done on the weekend. And maybe I'll get to the point and go like, I really don't feel like it. But then I try and acknowledge that voice to go, I don't feel like it, and go, well, that's great. You don't feel like it, but you're still going to go and do the thing. Yeah. So being really aware, putting your phone on do not disturb, keeping your phone out of the room if you're worried you're going to start scrolling. Make sure you're tracking your progress in the right way. Focus on inputs, not outputs. I promise you, outputs will come if you spend enough time on quality inputs.
Yeah.
It is just very basic in all aspects of life. If you continually do the right things, the output will come.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're going, man, 30% of the year is gone, right? Think about it. How are you going to change the next 70% of this year to make sure that you hit your goals and achieve the outcomes that you want, right? We always say it. Action is the antidote to anxiety. If you're listening to this and going, I don't feel like I'm achieving anything, I want to make a change, take some action. Like James said with the example of the person going into the gym, you don't have to run a marathon on day one. Small, consistent steps over time build wealth. If you're looking at your finances, it's a really key thing to remember.
And this part might be really harsh, but I say it from a place where I really care that you take the right steps forward. If you are not where you want to be, and your reason you're not where you want to be is because of external forces, maybe something's happened in your life, maybe you've been made redundant, maybe high interest rates, whatever it might be, if you don't focus on what's in with my control, how can I take control of the situation, opposed to things are happening to me, the reality is you're not going to get where you want to get in life, because you have to always take high levels of accountability to get the outcomes that you want, opposed to it's always going to be somebody else's fault.
Yeah. And if you're not good at something, outsource it.
Yeah.
Simple as that, right? You're not good at keeping yourself on track with your finances, get a financial advisor. If you're not good at thinking about mortgages or knowing what to do with the market, go get a mortgage broker. You don't have to be an expert and, in every single discipline. You can outsource it and get help.
Yeah, so this has been a slightly different episode from us today. Really keen to get some feedback on what you thought of today's episode. 30% of the year is gone, but 70%'s left to go, and there's a hell of a lot you can do with 70%. Thank you to Partners Life for sponsoring the episode. Please subscribe to the channel, share us some love so we can get our message out to help more people take control of their finances, make the most of the 70%. Give us a review and a like, and we'll catch you next time.
Do you know what's funny? Every time I see someone come into the gym, and it's obvious it's like their first time coming into the gym, or maybe you can see they've got a weight goal they probably want to hit, I am like, fuck yeah, brother. Here we
Mm.
go. I'm like so pumped for them. I'm like,
Mm.
you always like jazz them up. I'm like, mate, keep coming back. It's
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah. Or the person going for the run and you can be like, this is like really hard work for them.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
like, yeah, go
it
get
like,
it.
It like pumps me up. It's
Yeah.
so dope.